Hey guys, Hector here, and today I am going to talk about the last four episodes. I ran out of time, so let's get into them. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Right. Number four, we have Johnny Dodgeable. This episode is really fun. This episode, well, it wasn't going in the direction I thought sports episodes would go, because Johnny doesn't keep his bionic arm, but I guess he just gets the dance dress, and is able to successfully avoid everything. The Russian people, dodgeballs. I think there are some similarities to the Fairly Odd Parents episode Foul Ball. I just think that Johnny Dodgeball with is just cooler. On to the top three episodes of season one. And these episodes are really, really good. They might be my favorite episodes whenever I get the chance to, even when I get the chance to watch season two, or have the strength to watch season two, or especially if season two is just not good. Without further ado, let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Go! Johnny Test Extreme Crime Stopper. This episode, Johnny has a lot of fun, and I'm also having a lot of fun. When Johnny Test has a lot of fun, then the viewers also have a lot of fun. And I think the skateboard stuff is cool. I just really like how he defeats the extreme teams, and how the extreme teams like anything that's extreme. And they just go to, and I really like the way they defeat it. As I said, it was really funny that Johnny was able to put extreme in some word of a or some word in the jail, and how he got them imprisoned successfully. That was actually a very clever way to defeat a villain. My favorite one. I've been okay for the number two spot. Speaking of mole people, and about the sister episode of Johnny X being my favorite, being really, really good. Yep, I wasn't lying. Johnny to the Center of the Earth was a really fun episode to watch. I there This episode has a lot of clever humor. The mole people were great villains, and I just really like how there are so many mole people that Johnny and Dookie got in jail. And of course, it has the habit of the show using a seemingly useless invention to solve the problem. It's of course the pilot episode of the show. Well, maybe not the pilot, just the first episode, because there's a pilot before that. But I just but I really think that is a really unique way to solve that the ending was a really unique way to solve the problem. How Johnny just used the Salt and also Dookie and Bling Bling Boy to become giants to destroy the mole people and then get back up. Yeah, it wasn't done the best here, but it was done, and the rest of the stuff, it's really funny and it's really action packed. But what could be number one? What could beat the first episode of the show, in my opinion? I'll tell you what. Johnny versus Brain Freezer. I thought this episode was going to be action packed, and it was less action packed than I thought, but it was much funnier than I thought it would be. And I really think and it doesn't really need to be really action packed, because the Brain Freezer is an already good villain, and I really like that he freezes Susan and Mary, so Johnny and Dookie can't rely on their help, but so they just go to so they just ask help from Bling Bling Boy so that he can stop the Brain Freezer, because he was convinced by the fact that the Brain Freezer froze Susan and Mary. So in order to save them, he tries to help Johnny defeat the Brain Freezer. And I really think the Brain Freezer is a good concept. I thought it was going to be a generic ice villain, even though that would be okay. But I think this turned out to be better than I expected. This villain turned out to be better than I expected. Doesn't need to be not generic, but I think they went with it. Them going with it not being generic was a good idea, because the Brain Freezer is my favorite villain in the entire series. I mean, season 1. I'm not sure if season 2 or season 3 or the later seasons will have a villain that can beat him in terms of good villains in Johnny Test. But I really like how he just freezes everyone with his coffee and then uses the machine he used to make his coffee really cold as an actual freeze gun. And of course, again, getting Bling Bling Boy to help Johnny defeat the Brain Freezer. That was really clever, and I really like how he actually does it, even though one of his machine's claws gets frozen and then destroyed. But then he grabs the Brain Freezer, and then Johnny just feeds him his own Sub-Zero temperature coffee, and then he freezes. And then they save all the other people that got frozen, I think. Well, mainly Susan and Mary. That's what we know. But Bling Bling doesn't get a kiss from Susan. But at least he's still given his reward, because he helped save the day. And Johnny just gave him his surfboard, which is a pretty nice way to end the episode. Honestly, I don't know if there's going to be any episode that's going to beat this one. I was expecting this episode to be a really good one, but what I got was an amazing episode, and one of the best episodes of cartoon history in my opinion. Yes, I do have a love for thing for ice episodes. I have a thing for ice, like in any video game, ice levels, ice defenses in tower defense games like Plants vs Zombies, and of course I have a thing for ice in shows. Of course, I turn on the aircon a lot, so that counts as me liking ice a lot. My favorite episode of SpongeBob is Crab's a la Mode. and that is an ice themed episode. And my favorite episode of Johnny Test is Johnny versus Brain Freezer, which is also an ice themed episode. Again, I have to say that Johnny vs. Brain Freezer is the best episode of the show because it exceeded my expectations. You are definitely going to see me rewatch it again. If I have any Johnny Test season 1 episode to rewatch and I can only rewatch one, it would be this episode. That's it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. Bye!